Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's Wednesday, it's November 30th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And I'm a little late getting started today. It's late in the evening, and I'm just now getting a chance to do this. So I'm going to go through it probably really quickly. Not a lot of trades today. It's pretty straightforward, though. We traded up. We had a break, a couple of closes outside here, a new high, and then we really made a double top with a little failed, and then it was all downhill after that. Early on, I was looking at the brown or reddish brownish channel, but once we got this third swing, it really confirmed this one. And if you just drug it down to here, that came into play pretty much the rest of the day. So, and you can see that midline was in play as well. We shot through it, pull back and touch it, and then go forward just like you'd expect. So, played out pretty well. The short-term trends all really played out well. You're moving down here, you get a break, new low, and that's really two measured legs. And you're moving down here, you get a close outside, new low. You're moving up here, close outside. You tried to go higher a couple of times and failed. It did end up going higher, and then it turns down. You're moving down, close outside, move to a new low. You're moving up, close outside. Can't get a new high because of the downtrend. Basically, you get a failed second entry long right there. And that, look at that playing off that trend line. That was the setup of the day right there. And you can't beat that. If you caught that one trade, you had a nice trade. So, and really you could have entered again right here. I didn't mark that one, but it needs to be marked. That's a failed second entry long. Actually, the failed second entry is long here, and this is like a double top at the midline off of the trend line right there, and that confirmed the trend line. So, and you're looking for prices to come back down to here, so there's still plenty of room. The reason I wasn't real crazy about it is it's close to that low there, so you got to be particular about that. So that was the reason I really didn't mark it, but the more I think about it, you probably could go short right there too. So, but anyway, let me back it, and actually from really about 9:30 till about 1 o'clock. This is more sideways, so you really could trade that both ways until we got back to the trend line again. So that's why there are a couple longs in here. Let me back out. We'll talk about the trades and call it a day. But you see, you found this trend line right off the first two swings. I got the brown one off those two swings right there, and it looked like it was going to be valid. It probably was a little too steep, and so we end up in a flatter one, which is the blue one. But when I came in, we were working sideways here, and this is pretty much just congestion. I think you're better off just to skip this, but it is a second entry long. It is the first close, and it's really hard to determine if that's a close, but then you get another one. And so I feel like you got your close outside there. But this is a second entry long. This bar is not bullish enough. This is more of an inside bar. So you might have let it break higher and dropped a limit order in there. Or you could have even gone with a stop, but you're right into that double top. And it's always risky. And if you do enter, your stop has to go below the lowest point here, which is this bar, the bar with the red in it right here with the long stem. Your stop would have to go there. So I'm not crazy about that trade, but you might have taken it. And then we move to a new high, and then we get two legs down. We bounce here. It's tempting to go long right here, but that's a double top. And you've already got a break and a new high in place. We could go for a second leg, but I'd want a better entry. I'd want to enter down here off this second entry, and that bar's too bearish. And this bar's, you might have considered a break above that, but then you get another inside that's a definite doji, close right in the middle of that bar, and so you're just working sideways there. So I think you just got to be patient, and then you finally get a second entry short. You got one right here, and you really could have entered below that bar. But when this one stacked up real bullish inside it, so now you got three bars stacked up there, and one of them's a doji. I was a little leery of it, but when you got this big bearish bar, You still kind of had an inside bar, but it's much more negative than this was compared to this bar. So what I suggest doing here is you could just enter with a stop right here. Your safety stop has to go above this little 2-bar matching high though, but it never would have come into play. What I recommend doing here is letting it break below this bar and dropping a limit order back where you originally would have entered, and you would have probably got filled on that. And this turns out to be a nice move down, and you might have caught a runner on this one. And of course, you got this shorter term channel working down. You get a close outside, you get 2 legs up, and you get a second entry short here. This is not a great signal bar. So I went back and forth whether or not to make this one red. But notice what happens. You got this trend line, and it touches it again and holds. That's a key entry point. This really confirmed it with this 3rd bar here, so that's why I like that one. Again, you might let it break lower and come back and put your limit order further back in here, and again, you would have got filled further back in it. Again, this one's real close to being green, but it is a failed second entry long too. Notice you're coming down first entry, pull back second entry, and even though it gets a scalp, you're already looking for something here. I drew this trend line off these lows and drug it up, so you're already looking for it to turn down. So when it touches it twice and turns down, if you noticed all that, I like that enough to enter that. And but you had to find that trend line. And I really thought that this might be, when we broke through here, I thought that this might be a midline. And you notice the brown line down there. I meant to show you that. It never comes into play anywhere near that because the bigger pattern is the blue, so you could remove that one. And really, once you went higher here and you see that there's probably a different channel, you could remove the brown altogether because it never really comes back into play again. So, but this was a nice trade down. Then we bounce. And then you get a close outside right there at that trend line. You tried to go to a new high. That's 3 attempts to go higher. It's a double test at that level. It's another test of the trend line. You can't use this for your signal bar, so this has to be it. But your stop has to go above this bullish bar here. So just remember that. And when this thing started going sideways here like that, you might have got nervous and exited. You could have gotten a tick or two out of that a couple of different times, and I probably would have taken it because this thing should have went on down. And if this is not a 2-tiered channel, then this is an overshoot, and that could lead to a reversal. So I started getting nervous on this one. So you can see that's just a trading range, and then we have a little failed drop lower. The only reason I didn't like going long there was because it was right back into that trend line, and so far it's still holding, so you had to be leery of that. This short was only good for a scalp, and you didn't get anything else out of it. So otherwise, I would have liked going long there, but with that trend line working down through there and it holding prices that many times, I'm not going long. I'm not going long there. So we do get the break outside. We try to go higher about 3 times, and it fails and turns straight down. This is almost a repeat pattern of this, just a tighter. It looks almost exactly like this bigger pattern. It's a little tighter, same concept. But this confirms that trend line, and you get that little failed break higher. I like going short there. Key entry point, and look at it go. Again, you would have had a runner. Then you get your close outside. That's a second entry short, first leg up. First entry, second leg up, second entry. It actually triggers right there. But what it did on my chart was it went higher first and then comes back down and goes out right here and then goes back up again. So I didn't like entering there. But when this next bar shows up, I'm okay entering below it. So depending on how yours set up here, you might have even got burned there if yours looked like mine right there. If it didn't do like mine did. The only reason I did, if this bar would have been here alone and it just broke below it, I would have been going short right there. But it didn't do that on my chart. I'm not sure how it played out on yours or how yours looks, but if it looks similar to that, or if it went down there first, I'd be real leery of that. So you would have probably got stopped out on it. The only thing that kept me out was it went higher first and then went down. So, but I like going short below that bar. See, this one actually went higher and turned and went out the other side as well. But that's such a big bar. You might have gone short there if you had a little better setup on that lower high. There's also a trend line here that I didn't put on here. And you had to consider that as well. I actually had it played more like that, but it's probably more like that. It tries to go higher a couple of times, and then you actually get, notice that new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. There's your failed second entry long. I like going short right there. And at that point, I'm looking for prices to come all the way down to this side, and I'd measure that leg, and you see that would have got you down there close, but we didn't even get close to that. We bounced again. What it was, we just had a little hard time getting through that support right there. It bounces, and we're playing up again. Then you get a close outside, tries to go higher, and there's that 3 push pattern again, like that one, and like this larger one over here. And it tests that trend line 3 times. You might have even considered going short right there, but since we didn't get a new high, I'd be careful of it. So you might give that one a green one, because that's a pretty setup coming off that trend line. It's a double touch of that trend line. So you could argue to take that one, but I think you're better off to wait, and then you get this setup here. Either one of them would have worked, but they both take off again. They're both great setups. The reason I don't like this was we didn't quite have a new high in yet. So, but that is a key entry point working down through there. And of course we had all the way down this time. We already talked about that one. It's a little double top. It's a little breakout pull back short from that new low too. The more I think about this one, it really ought to be at least green instead of red. Because even though you're expecting prices are going to try to go down to here before they bounce, we've had a hard time going lower much past this level right in here. And we've been going kind of sideways back and forth above and below the EMA. So it could have bounced there. Or you could have at least got a break there and then it went lower. But it is a double test of the midline. It's your confirmation of this shorter term trend. It's a relatively bearish bar. It's a second entry short. Notice that new low, first entry, pull back second entry. There's a bunch of reasons to like it, so I'll just leave it green though. And then of course we get the close outside, move to a new low, and then what happens, we're headed the other direction. But that's after your 2 o'clock cutoff, so I didn't list anything up there or show anything after that point. So, and you definitely don't want to go short there. Even though you are expecting a new low, you may not get it here since we came off the low of this trend channel. So it wasn't really, there were a couple of spots in here where it gets kind of iffy. And generally if you just stay out of those, you're better off if you just wait for the key entry points. All of them are down this line and down this line. And then of course down these shorter term lines or up them. If you just would have stuck to the key entry points, you'd been in pretty good shape. Somehow I think I missed a couple of trades in here. I think when I moved over, I missed a couple of trades. Seemed like I got through too soon. Did we talk about this one? This was a failed second entry long. We're going sideways really bad there is the reason I wasn't crazy about that one. And then we're bouncing up. There's your reversal, your failed second entry short. And So I like going long right above that bar. And you're looking for prices to come back to here. And because we're going back and forth up and down, I like that trade. And I know we already talked about these. Somehow I skipped over those. I don't know how I did it. Hope I didn't do them twice. It's been a long day. I'm sorry. But I just didn't remember talking about those. And notice that the only two longs are right in here. And that's just because from about 9:30 to about 12:30, look how we're back and forth above and below the EMA. That's sideways there, and it really was looking rangy. Even though this channel was valid, you could still trade it both ways. But your best trades are going to be off this line right here. And you see what happens when it came back to it again. It was a second entry short right there, and another great trade. It's after our cutoff hour, but that would have been another great setup. So, yeah, that's what we saw today. Not a lot of trades, but most of them are, if you follow the rules and you wait on prices to come back to the key entry points, which is always going to be your trend lines and your flat horizontal resistance, you're going to be, you would have done okay today. So, anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.